I could promise you one thing. This is not a documentary about Ezra Miller. I could promise you that. Chase Lee Hockey here with the Blue Futon reviewing Ezra. What's about pretty simple premise. You have a family that's not really a family anymore, about to go through a divorce, and of course the kid has autism. However, the mother is pretty successful, I want to say real estate agent, and the father is a comic trying to get up, and finally he gets booked for Kimmel. However, shenanigans happens at a doctor, at a school, and now he's got to quote unquote kidnap his son to go from New York to LA to get on that Kimmel show, but making some pit stops here and there along the way. So, did I like this film? It was a cute film. I think the most unfortunate thing you could say about this movie is the genericness of it. Good intentions, good acting, okay looking film. One thing I didn't like about it is some of the camera shots of how close they put it towards Ezra's face. I understand what they're trying to go for, but it also felt kind of uncomfortable, like I was in this kid's privacy space, which I didn't need to be, because autism, especially with this kid, Ezra, didn't like being touched. It felt like I could almost touch him, and I was like, it just felt like a weird directorial choice, but it is what it is. It's very simplistic thing I didn't really mind about the film. This is going to be such a simplistic review, I'm sorry, because you have good actors. You have Bobby Cannavale, you have Robert De Niro, you have Rose Byrne, you have Vera Farmiga, you have Whoopi Goldberg, you have Rainn Wilson, you have Tony Goldwyn. I mean, like I said, you have a bunch of good people in this film, so there's nothing wrong with that. The look of the film, pretty simplistic, doesn't go far, doesn't do anything spectacular behind or in front of the camera. You get New York, you get, Nebraska, you get Michigan, you get California, through and throughout. Nothing special there. And also nothing wrong with the editing. Like, to me, this is, when people say generic, they think, oh, that's such a freaking negative thing. No, there's nothing wrong with being generic, because maybe you could say that's what the movie is kind of going for. The reason I say that, because there is a dilemma in this movie of genericness versus being different versus people trying to put you in a box. And maybe that's why the movie kind of looked and felt this way, because you have this autistic kid and the father's trying to make him go to real public school, kind of do stuff like, I hate to say, like, normal is such a bad word when it comes to, like, autism, Down syndrome, but, learning level of the same grade, right? The dad wants to do it that way, but of course the state of New York and the mom kind of wanted to put him in a special needs school so the kid can actually kind of learn and go through the ways of the world, how other teachers are willing to put their time and effort into it. I completely understand that. And I also understand the part of, drugging the kid, where there are probably some good drugs to calm down, but it seems like this is I want to say minimal autism. And what I mean by that, sometimes you have major freakouts. Here it doesn't seem like the freakouts were too bad. And there's, of course, a good thing where it is true, pharmaceutical companies go to these doctors, and the more the doctors prescribe, the more money they get. And they do have a little line in there about this film. With that, though, I do think there are some stupid character decisions, especially with the father, Max. Like, he knows he's digging himself a grade over and over and over again, but he keeps doing it because of quote-unquote anger management. Of course, he gets that from his father's side, and of course, there's a running joke, I want to call it a joke, of where the autism comes from. They think it comes from the father's side, and that's probably correct when you actually see the Robert De Niro, Bobby Cannavale's character, of how they do have the anger management issues throughout this film. Now, I know a movie like this needs to be, tied with a nice bow on top when the credits roll, and it does do that, but it does feel like some things were left open that it didn't need to be, especially with Rose Byrne's, new boyfriend character kind of left unopened. You have, the Virga character. You kind of got a little bit about that, homestead style of living in Nebraska. Okay, you kind of get that. But then you also kind of get the Robert De Niro's father anger management with the mother's side. And it's just a little bit there, but it doesn't flesh out as well as I think it wants to, or it thinks it should. There's some weird jokes about, Midwest stuff and in the city. My God, when looking at it, just seems like also in this movie, it kind of wanted to make fun of the Midwest, but Ezra was having more time kind of in the open fields of Nebraska with horses and having more fun just living not in the city. And I think movies like this need to like really are trying to prop up living in the city. Maybe it's just a personal bias, but I can never live in New York. Like I said, I might be living in LA next year this time. Am I happy about it? Taxes are going to suck. Gas prices are going to be garbage. But we'll see. It's work. 2, 3, 4 years. It is what it is. It's part of life. Anyway, Ezra, it's a fine movie. It's generic. It has a good story, good acting, overall well-timed. But if you're looking for something different in this world of trying to not be generic, this is not for you. Did that sentence make sense? I don't know. So Ezra will receive a 3.5 out of 5 with Futon. So it goes at 70%. So let's see the Critics News scores gave this one. Critics, 79% with 14 of them. And we have 0 critic consensus. So there we go. We have the 79 and 70. Chase Lock here with the Blue Futon. Like, comment, subscribe. One more thing is Bhutontopia. You Blue Tony's. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. I can watch today, tomorrow, week from now, month, or a year from now. Every single freak of one of you. Enjoy life. And just know that you have a good life. You do. I promise you, you do.